Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now today's a little bit different to what I'd normally do. I was going to go out and film today, but the weather is shockingly bad. It's just absolutely pissing it down. So I thought I'd make some content on something that I know will get you guys talking, and it's certainly been something that I've just been thinking about the last couple of days, and well, probably a little bit longer than that actually. So August 1st, we are here in the UK, we are having a ninja sword ban. Actually, I need to take a step back. I need to add in a few little caveats. First one being, I might use the term UK. Yes, at this moment in time, this ban is coming in England and Wales. It's not in Scotland and Northern. Oh, but they're part of the UK. Yeah, don't get your knickers in a twist. Look, I'm just using the term UK. I know it should be England and Wales, but you know, they're looking to extend this into Northern Ireland and Scotland, so this is probably going to be heading into your region soon. That's why I'm using the term UK, so just, yeah, chill on that one. Second is, I've got to do a little bit of reading from here. It would make sense if I read this from a phone, just because of how the importance of making sure that it's correct. Third one is, this is the sort of stuff that really boils my piss. So there might be a little bit of harsh language in this, which isn't usually my type of style, unless you watch the bloopers, where I generally do swear a little bit off camera. But this is sort of stuff that, like I say, it just riles me. It really just infuriates me that this is the country that we live in, that we're at this point where we are banning ninja swords. I forgot, there is a fourth caveat, and that is that I'm not a lawyer. This isn't genuine legal advice. This is all stuff that I found on the .gov website. If you're concerned about any of this sort of stuff, seek genuine legal advice. Don't just go, well, the Moorlander said it, and you do your due diligence and make sure you research this yourself and get correct legal advice. I'm just really covering the main points of this. Yeah, so back to our feature content. Now, the thing with this is, so starting from the 1st of August, this is when this ninja sword ban comes in. Through July, if you own one of these ninja swords, which I will get into the classification, which some absolute bell-end moron had decided what a ninja sword is, probably some toft in the cabinet office somewhere. So through July, you can, there is a ninja sword amnesty, so you can take your ninja sword, you can take it to a local police station, and you can hand it in with no sort of worries that you're going to be arrested or anything like that, because they are still kind of technically legal at this moment in time. There is a compensation scheme for it as well, which it's a little bit kind of, there's not a lot of information out there, although I think one of the only constabularies that have come forward and said that they've kind of named a price. Nottinghamshire police have confirmed that you get £5 per sword that you hand in. There is some criteria that you have to be able to prove that you owned it before March of 2025, and you know, all this sort of bollocks. Yeah, so just to get into some of this. So the first thing is that just want to point out that we already have laws here in the UK. The laws are that if you own a sword, you can own a sword. That's fine. If you want to keep a sword in your house, that's fine. If you have a sword and you need to take it into town because you do some sort of martial art, that's okay. You just need to prove that if you're going into town with that sword and the police stop you and go, bruv, why have you got a sword? Okay, I'm a martial arts instructor, I'm going here. That's fine. How about sushi restaurants, those big sushi knives that they use for tunas, that sort of stuff? Huh. I'm walking through town, I've got this big sword, you get stopped, I'm a sushi restaurant owner, I take it home every day. We already have laws for this. We also have laws that if you're a wannabe knobhead little bellend walking around town trying to chop people's heads off with some sword that you bought off Temu, that's not good. We already have these laws. So the ninja sword ban, so just again, just to get some of this here. So we want to ensure that our legal description of ninja swords serves two purposes. First, that it captures ninja swords which are of concern to members of the public. I'm not very good at reading out loud, so I do apologise about this. So if it's a concern to the public, that's because some bellends walking around town with a sword trying to, attack people with it. We already have a law for that. Second, that it does not bring within scope of bands of swords or other blades that are typically used for legal purposes. Oh shit, so we already have that law. Brilliant. Okay, that's fine. So what actually are we doing here? We're just taking a small feature of a sword, now calling that a ninja sword, and all of those swords are banned. But if you had one of those beforehand and you were being a bellend with it, that's not good. If you had one before and you were owning that responsibly, that was okay. There is a range of reasons why some swords should remain legal to own and use. So we are aware that many members of the public own antique swords or swords of historical interest that are not antique. That's weird. So we already have this law. And it goes on into military personnel have certain swords that have a curved blade and have a certain edge to them, which again is perfectly legal for them to own, and there will be some servicemen and women that had those that have passed on, and they've given the sword that they owned to a member of their family, and they've kept that for personal reasons. That's weird. We already have these laws in place. But the specific things that they're mentioning for this, that somebody's gone ninja sword. Now, I'm not a massive ninja sword fan, but I know that there are several different types of swords through martial arts that have been used as what you would class as a ninja sword. So how are we now defining what a ninja sword is? And this again is where some muppet in Parliament has gone, ooh, I think I've found this. Maybe we should class all of these. So a ninja sword, by definition, under British or under England and Wales law, for those, okay, is a fixed blade of 14 to 24 inches in length. So if it's shorter than that, it doesn't count. If it's longer than that, it doesn't count. It has a single straight cutting edge and this is the important bit, has a tanto style point. Now it goes into here about what a tanto style point is, but so that you're aware, I came with props today. A lot of swords you will see, usually longer than this, will come to a tip at the end. So this is more of a drop point if you were kind of thinking about knives. So at the end it starts to taper down, but then as the belly of the knife comes here to the point, it sweeps up to the point. This isn't a tanto knife or a tanto. The geometry of that is not of a tanto style. If you own one of these, this is still fine to own. A tanto knife. Oh, sorry, and on here, so this is the cutting edge here at the bottom that sweeps across there. It is usually higher than this. I don't know why I did it so low on that one. A tanto knife is a specific type of knife, and again, I hope I don't get this wrong, but that was used within Japanese swordsmanship to create this end. And hopefully what you'll see here is that you have this cutting edge that runs straight here across the bottom, and then there is a defined angle here where the sweep then goes up to the front here. So you have a cutting edge here and a cutting edge here. The only difference between this having a single cutting edge that goes all the way across and this having what you might refer to as a double cutting edge is just this angular point here. That is to say, however, if you own a tanto knife and you know somebody that has the skills to be able to change this so that you can turn that into a sweep and there isn't a defined angle here, that you could just do that. So this law that now can be easily circumvented by changing that so that you can have this so that it sweeps across here. It's very simple to circumvent. So that would be, so if I was to hold this like this, that would be a tanto. There is also a thing called a reverse tanto, which kind of switches it that way, or it would switch it that way. Whereas you would have the cutting edge here, and then you'd have another bit there. That is now what they're defining as a ninja sword, which for me is just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. We already have laws that state if you want to own one of these knives, you can do. Don't be a bellend and have a fight with some other bellend in the middle of your street. Now, I want to point out this, it might be a good place to mention this. I'm not being political here. I'm not blaming white people, I'm not blaming black people, I'm not blaming Asian people. I'm not blaming gays, straights, trans, non-binaries, freaking furries, anyone like that. If you're a bellend having a fight in the street, you're the problem. No matter what colour skin, no matter what race you are, whatever religion you are, you're a bellend, full stop. So, to get back to this. So there are other knives that this may come under this classification. Now, we already have, last year we had a zombie knife thing where all zombie knives were banned. Generally you'll find zombie knives are those cheap, really shit knives that you'll find on Temu, that you'll find on AliExpress. So they're mentioning specifically these tanto knives, and that if it has a tanto, the geometry of the blade at the end has a tanto end to it like this, that you're just not allowed to own those knives. But there are other knives specifically that they've said, no, these are exactly the same. First one being, the one that I mentioned, was the tuna cutting knives that are used in the preparation of sushi. So these are huge knives that have a tanto end to them. These knives cost in excess of £300 or £400 and are owned by people that have spent and dedicated their lives to becoming a chef and preparing tunas. These are now illegal. I've never seen any wannabe knobhead gangster bellend running around town with a £300 knife. It just doesn't happen. But under the new laws, what was the measurement again? What was it? Was it 14? Oh, I've lost it. Whatever that measurement was, I'll put it here. Up to 24 inches. That's now illegal. However, they are stating that if it's shorter than that, that's fine. Or if it's longer than that, that's fine too. Again, it's just, all this is just somebody saying, oh, there's been an issue somewhere, and I know there was a guy that lost his life because some knobhead tried to kill him with one of these style knives. His family did a lot of work trying to ban them, but we already have laws that bans bellends running around town with these knives and having fights in the middle of public. We already have these laws. So there are some kind of ways around this, which is really weird because they're very similar to the already laws that we have. But to point out, so this being a tanto here, you'll hopefully know that if you're a British historian or from Europe, that we have similar knives to these called a sax knife, which is very much like a reverse tanto, but instead of starting here, it comes maybe down from here, comes down to there. Perfectly legal. You could say that that's just exactly the same as a tanto, but the European version of that, but it's a longer, it's even sharper at the end. Yeah, they're fine. So Sax knives, no issues with those. Anglo-Saxon swords, no issues with those. Viking swords, no issues with those whatsoever. If you went on to Temu and you found a Sax knife and think, I'll have one of those bad boys, it looks a bit like that tanto knife that I bought the other weekend, it's going to be perfectly legal for you to purchase that from Temu and have that delivered to your house. Whereas if you purchase a ninja sword that has a tanto geometry on the end, that's now illegal to purchase. But there are some general defences to this. And as I read this, think in your head, do we already have this law? So there are some circumstances, anyone who can prove under circumstances that these meet the conditions, they could be used lawfully for the person to manufacture those, sell those or hire those, then we have these laws. And that is for instances with weapons, which is an antique weapon that is over 100 years old. Functional carries on behalf of the Crown or of visiting forces, so armed forces, whether you're here from the UK or whether you're from a foreign country and you come to here with your president or whoever it is. Items of historical importance, items for museums or galleries, educational purposes of filming and television or theatrical performances, rehearsals, all of that sort of stuff. That's really weird. So we already have these laws. All that we've done is found some arbitrary kind of thing that we can go, right, this is now what we define to be a ninja sword, is the fact that it's a sword that has a tanto geometry on the end. Which maybe, I don't know, 50% of ninja style swords, but if you go onto a site like Temu and type in ninja sword, or AliExpress and type in ninja sword, the vast majority of those have tanto ends. It's just it's just ridiculous. So what we found today is that if you are a legal owner of a sword, from reading through the government website, and you're not a bellend, you have a sword because you use it because you're a martial arts expert, you have a sword because you're from a certain area of Asia and it's of historical importance to you, that's fine, you can still keep that in your house. And when the police turn up, hopefully they won't turn up, but let's say you have a burglary and they go, "Ooh, is that a ninja sword?" You can go, "Yes, that was my great-granddad's and he fought this," and whatever. You've got a defence for that. Exactly the same as the laws that we already have. I just absolutely baffles me that we live in a country that already internationally we're being laughed at for whatever reason. I know recently for the way that the government are treating the indigenous people here in the UK. We're now at a point where something that already has a law, we're just extending a classification of that law to ban something where if we'd have used the laws that we already have, there was no reason for this. Again, it's upsetting that the family that this individual passed away, and they've done a lot of campaigning to change the law. But have we really changed the law? If you own one of these knives and you've been a bellend, you shouldn't have that knife in the first place. But if you own that knife and you've been responsible with that, and it's just on your mantelpiece at home, you can still keep that knife. So what have we changed? Nothing. I use this thought exercise a lot when people talk to me about knives here in the UK, and it's a very simple one. Let's say the old gods up in the sky looking down, and they notice that there's a lot of people getting stabbed. So the All-Father says, right, clicks his finger, and every single knife on the planet disappears, whether that's a butter knife, whether that's a plastic knife, whether that's a wooden vegan safe knife, they all just disappear. Does that mean that knife crime is going to stop? Well, it kind of would do, but what it would do is it would just evolve. These little knobhead gangsters would just find a hammer, which they are doing now. They'd find a chisel or a screwdriver, which they're doing now. Could you imagine the scene in 15 years' time, having the All-Father click his fingers and all the knives disappear, where we're having a freaking cricket bat amnesty because dickheads are now running around with cricket bats, being dickheads. It's nuts, and I suppose you've got the same equivalent on the other side of the pond in the US. All-Father clicks his finger, all of the guns disappear. 15 years' time, we're having, 18-inch double-ended dildo amnesties because the Democrats are now saying, "Oh, there's too many people dying from blunt force trauma from double-ended frickin' dildos." It just doesn't make sense. What we're doing is we're changing laws that we already have because the politicians will not address the fundamental issue that we have. We do not have a knife problem. The US does not have a gun problem. We have a dickhead problem. We have a people problem, and that's what the issue is. And this law is just another stupid example I've used this term several times today, bellends, massive, card-carrying, raging bellends in Parliament, changing laws that are going to have absolutely no impact in society whatsoever. And the way that I know that they'll have no impact in society whatsoever, over the last 30 years, our knife laws here in the UK have got progressively more strict. And there's a direct correlation, you might say correlation, between the ownership of knives and the laws getting more stricter and knife crime increasing. That's I mean, Google it. It's out there. We don't have a knife issue. We have a people issue, and the government are not willing to address the fact that we have a people issue, and instead they're putting out the fires, not going after the dickheads with the matches. That's the issue that we have here in the country. So yeah, if you own one, if you want to take it to your local police station, then there's an amnesty at the moment, and that is up to the 1st of August. So you can take it in. They might give you, well, you can claim some compensation if you prove that you've owned that knife for a while or that sword for a while. The compensation doesn't really seem to be much. However, if it's a sword that you're not being a knobhead with, that it is important to your family, then there are defences of which you can keep that, which is exactly the same laws that we had before. It genuinely is absolutely laughable, the nanny state that we live in. So yeah, just be careful on the streets, London, Manchester, Birmingham, because there are knobheads running around with swords, and these laws will not change that whatsoever. Feel free to leave a comment below. What country do you live in? Do you think that the UK has turned into a joke? No, UK, obviously, I'm just talking about England and Wales at the moment. Can you walk around the streets with a sword by your side? If we have any people that watch this in Asian countries where these swords are very significant there, do you have similar laws? Do you find it racially or culturally, ethnically inappropriate that they're just calling these swords ninja swords because we're English and we just freaking abuse culture like that? And that it's ridiculous to refer to all swords that have a tanto end as a ninja sword. Yeah, feel free to leave some comments below. Absolutely slag off this country, slag off this nation, because the rules that our government are enforcing are just freaking ridiculous. So there you go. The UK ninja sword ban, which will absolutely not stop scroats getting swords and having fights in our street and cities. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, comment below. I'll leave some links. So what I was reading from here was the .gov website. So I'll leave some links below so that you can see that. You can have a read through it yourself. Apologies for my reading out loud skills. They really aren't the best. Yeah, so those links will be below. I'll leave some of my social media links here on Moorlander EDC and my sister channel, Moorlander Tactical. And whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. Our government, absolute feckless knob jockeys, don't know their arse from their elbow when it comes to shit like this. It's embarrassing. It genuinely is embarrassing to be British at this stage. We, however you want to think about the British Empire, we a lot of countries around the world, their law system was based on some of the fundamentals that we instilled in some of their nations, whether we were that forced on them or not. But a lot of law around the world, we're a nation where we believe in honesty, we believe in fairness, all that sort of stuff, and that's how a lot of laws around the world have kind of been built off the system that we built. I say we, forefathers before them. We're now a joke, absolute freaking joke, and there's no end to it. Fucking, we're done. Sunday. Hope you're all having a good Sunday. One of the things that the British Empire tried to instill in the world is the Sunday roast. I hope you're all going to have a Sunday roast today. I'm having a Sunday roast. We've got some lamb in, because lamb's my favourite. And you have to have lamb with mint sauce. If you're watching this, Mike, why do you not like mint sauce? It's amazing. Anyway, cool. Sweet. I'll see you all in a bit. Service will resume as normal on Wednesday. Although I'm going to have to film something out of the garden today anyway as well. So, yeah, cool. Two thumbs fresh.